Okay, hello, sweet world. Today we are in the midst of the climax of the college football season, and shockingly, how it relates to, or not so shockingly, how it relates to the political sphere. See, I think when I watched that Georgia-Oklahoma game, I see two coordinators that are head coaches. Two coordinators that are head coaches are not going to beat Nick Saban, the CEO, as Joe Tessitore called him, the big boss, which is a very appropriate name. See, the reason why Oklahoma's offense was able to play so well and Georgia's offense was so basic. Well, not that it wasn't able to play well, it was, but that Oklahoma's defense was not very good and that Georgia's offense was very basic is because of the coaches. Lincoln Riley has been an assistant his entire career. As an assistant, you're not supposed to look at what your defense does. What is your offense going to do to win that football game every Saturday or every Sunday? Tunnel vision. That's what being an assistant is. Focus on one priority and beat it like a drum for 7 days until game day. Same on the defensive side of the ball. Read your keys, linebackers, safeties, defensive line, etc. An assistant in college football is also supposed to be able to recruit. They don't hire other coaches, they recruit players. That's why you see so many big-name assistants win a good amount of games. Jimbo Fisher, Jim McElwain for an extent of time. Who else? Kirby Smart, Lincoln Riley for Bob Stoops, because they're able to reach into talent pools because they're hired by big-name programs and because they've been an active recruiter for a long time. They're able to get that talent to come to their programs. That wins you 10 to 11 games, especially when it's top talent and there's a lot of it to choose from. Okay, now the one or two games that matter, they're against teams that you're equally talented. That you have equal talent on both sides of the field, a 5-star, 4-star. What it comes down to is play calling, what it comes down to is execution. And that's where, if Oklahoma had won this game against Georgia, or if Georgia were to play Clemson, Oklahoma were to play Clemson, doesn't matter. They would have lost to Dabo Swinney, and Georgia is going to lose to Nick Saban. Here's why. Because Nick Saban is a CEO. Nick Saban does what he's good at, but is is able to look at coaches that are able to do what he's not particularly good at. Let's say Larry Johnson, defensive line coach for Ohio State. Urban Meyer, not a defensive coach, but he's able to get that guy to come. He's able to get Greg Schiano to come. The thing about assistants is that because they're so tunnel vision, number one, they don't get the context that major head coaches do immediately. And number two, they don't have a philosophy for the entire team that is as structured and that is as that's very formed the way Nick Saban or Urban Meyer do in having a physical, speed-driven football team. And the reason why Alabama is going to kill Georgia is because Kirby Smart doesn't have offensive creativity, because he doesn't have offensive minds on his coaching staff. It's defensive minded. Now, it may be close. I'll give you this. It may be close because Alabama can't score because their quarterback is not playing well, Jalen Hurts. But with an NFL offensive coordinator, the former Patriots offensive coordinator, coaching up that offensive unit, I think it's going to be a whitewash. And I think it's going to be very difficult for the Georgia Bulldogs to generate any type of offense against Alabama, and I think it's going to be a whitewash. I think it comes down to, not only are you able to identify the best potential interns, it's about, can you identify those managers? Can you identify those well-rounded people to lead a group rather than just the talent needed to make things happen? Now, Georgia's a very good football team at 3 or 4 plays, and they're better at 3 or 4 plays than most teams are at an entire playbook. But this is Alabama here, who are conditioned, are coached. Their leadership has them great at everything because that's the way their coaching staffs are set up. That's the same reason why, while Alabama wasn't able to do much offensively, and that's the same reason why the success for Clemson's defensive unit was so big, because Dabo Swinney is able to find assistants that are good at one thing, that are specialized to improve a unit, right? And that's what Kirby Smart is. He's not a head coach yet. He is a recruiter, he's a specialist, so he's able to win a lot of games in college football. But I don't think he's that head coach yet. I don't think he's Urban Meyer. I don't think he's Nick Saban, because he can't find talent from the other types of systems that maybe he's not familiar with, because he's so tunnel vision as he's this major defensive coach. Now, let me segue to this. We had the other semifinal in Clemson versus Alabama, and it was terrible. It was terrible because it was slow, nothing happened, physicality. But let me tell you something. They may be the two most evenly matched teams in this college football playoff in terms of who are the best teams. I think if Georgia had played Clemson, they would have lost. If Oklahoma would have played Clemson, they would have lost. I think it's because of the two turnovers that this game wasn't a lot closer than it actually was if you were watching the tape. But I think Alabama is so well run system-wise. Is the same reason why I think Ohio State has had a major jump in terms of the way they run their program. It's like a business. And because they run it like a business, you see a lot more success. You haven't seen Georgia on this scale in a long, long time. Oklahoma, yeah, you've heard of Baker Mayfield for a couple of years, but they haven't won anything. The reason why Alabama and Ohio State win is not just because they're able to recruit. 15 programs a year are able to recruit, but only 4 make that playoff. And that's because of the business mentality that both these coaches have. And that's why you see so many of these guys going to the NFL as well, because they're conditioned to play like employees of a business rather than collegiate students or young kids at a program. Okay, now let me segue to this. We were talking about how the business mentality and how specialization of a person, or how a person is equipped to handle a certain situation, that affects the success when facing a more well-rounded candidate, employee, etc. Now, everyone has gone crazy over President Trump's tweeting and over, oh my gosh, the government is going to explode because President Trump is this wacko. Let's understand what the President of the United States is, okay? Let's understand what this is. While the President does have major responsibilities, okay, meeting with foreign countries, making treaties, he provides the impetus for most law, right? We all know that. But the President doesn't write the law. The law is made by senators, right, and House representatives. And that's why when we see how smoothly the government is running, I don't know why people are going crazy. The president's job, okay, is literally to try to convince the general public that something is good. It's not to make the details of stuff. Are you kidding me? That's why you have policy advisors. That's why you have senators. That's why you have senators, House representatives. It's like a big, big corporation. But there has to be a face to it. And that's what the President of the United States is. Even on those foreign trips, when you have these discussions about whether the X is right, Y is right, Iran, stuff like that, you have advisors. The government is run like a business because one guy can't know everything. One guy can't know everything. One guy can have opinions about everything, but he can't know everything. It's impossible. That's why you have a government structure like this. And what it shows you is that maybe President Trump doesn't know the ins and outs of the tax laws and how to manipulate certain governments and make sure peace is stable, obviously, with his tweets and stuff like that. But, again, like the college football example, there's a reason the most successful the most successful teams in college football are run like a business because one person can't do everything, and you have to be able to identify who's best at their specific things in order to have a well-rounded system. And that's why you need so many representatives, so many advisors, so many ambassadors, so many senators for this government to run. And that's why, because they're there, President Trump can be president, Bernie Sanders can be president. Well, I don't want that, but nothing drastic is going to happen because someone is president. Now, something may happen as a result of, like, hey, X country doesn't like your guy, so stuff happens. But electing a president isn't the major issue here. Electing congressmen and representatives are the biggest, the most important decisions, and that's why the government runs smoothly today. That's why there isn't chaos. Now, we talk a lot about how Donald Trump is on Twitter and how this may wreck the perception of America among other countries. Oh, stop it. That's ridiculous, okay? 140 characters isn't gonna do anything unless you're like, hey, I'm putting out classified information in this tweet. Hey, I'm gonna nuke someone here. Hey, I'm gonna bomb someone here. No. This is ridiculous. The government isn't run by the president. The government is run by representatives. It's basic, people. The reason why it still works is not because we've had presidents do stuff. Jimmy Carter was an idiot. But the thing still worked well. Why? Because there were 500 other people to keep him in check and to make the things right. And there were advisors, some arguably smarter than him, that were able to do things right. That's what being a CEO is all about. That's what being a leader of government is all about. It's not about yourself. It's about who you surround yourself with. So no, it's not going to be a major issue that Donald Trump tweets, that Donald Trump says things. Because guess what? It doesn't matter. Because you have those assistants, those offensive assistants, those defensive assistants, like in college football, those recruiters, that are able to do their job. And when you collectively have jobs well done in every single facet, you're going to have a well-run system. It's common sense, no need to worry. Now, we'll get into major political issues and things like that. But first, I want to talk about the greatness of LeBron James coming up